What's going on, everyone? My name is Johnny Bandon, and I'm your CCNA instructor for this CCNA video series. In this video, we're going to go over diving into our next section, which is all about routing. So in this section, we're going to purely talk about layer 3 protocols. That's going to be going over what a router is, routing in general, and then also what the CCNA exam objectives want you to know about when it comes to routing protocols and how to break down routing or routers. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring these into view. So I have the CCNA exam objectives up here. And we see here in their section 3 or their domain 3, whatever you want to call it, it's IP connectivity, which essentially is routing, right? So as we can see here, it's actually a pretty concise section of what it wants you to know. So the main subsections interpret the components of a routing table. And then 3.2 is determine how a router makes a forwarding decision by default. So this could really be summed up in probably a 10 to 20 minute video, right? But then you don't get the full scope of what a router is actually doing by just hitting the routing table. Yes, that's essentially the main component when it comes to IP reachability and connectivity. But we're going to take that a step farther and really break down routing and routers. And then we see these section 3.3, 3.4. These are the routing protocols that the CCNA exam wants you to know about. So just static routing, and that's for IPv4 and IPv6, and also just OSPF. So there are plenty of routing protocols out there that are still in use. The CCNA, as far as I see it, right, they want their junior network admins to know about the most common routing protocols on the enterprise, right? And OSPF being that multi-vendor, non-proprietary protocol, Cisco, or their training department, or the CCNA creators, right, want their CCNA certified people to know about OSPF because it is the most popular when it comes to small business, medium to large size enterprises, right? Instead of their own proprietary routing protocol, ERGRP. Kind of funny that they put emphasis on OSPF, but I think a good idea, right? This is the most common one you see out there. And OSPF is a very complex link state protocol, but they just want you to know about single area. Again, kind of honing down that as the CCNA, you may not need to know about huge routing environments or enterprises that have multi-areas and route redistribution and multiple routing protocols, right? So for configuration, we keep it simple with just single area. And then, of course, static routing, something that every network admin engineer comes in, probably the first routing protocol they learn about is static routing, right? So the last piece of this section is going to be first hop redundancy protocols, so FHRP. And this are protocols like HSRP, VRRP. And what these are redundancy actually for your LAN, meaning that these protocols give multiple and redundant default gateways. So using two routers for your LAN, one being the primary gateway, one being the secondary, and users being able to use the secondary when the primary comes down. So we're going to go over that. That's what FHRP is. So kind of dealing within the LAN again, right? Saying, hey, as a CCNA, we just want you to know the concepts of FHRP. But in our video series, we're going to go over configuration as well. Okay, so that's a good place to stop for our intro video here, going over the routing section. Stay tuned when we go into our next videos, which we're going to deep dive into the routing table and what IP routing actually is. And then we're going to get into static routes, OSPF, and then, of course, end this section going over HSRP and VRRP. So stay tuned and thank you for viewing.